each other. Okay, right now, for example, maybe we have this class, but it's only for greetings. And we use good night when we, for example, when we go and you are going to sleep, for example. It's the last, like saying goodbye, okay, but in a good way. So if you go to another place and if you say like good night, it's not gonna be like a greeting. So it's gonna be like you are going out and you are saying bye bye, for example. Okay.
Okay.
So so that is the only difference. So it's okay. It's okay when you start with good evening, and if you go, let's say goodbye, the same as good night. Okay.
Okay.
Perfect, Gabby. So how was your weekend?
Fine, fine, fine. Tired, but okay.
Okay, so it was tired.
Mhm.
You had a lot of things to do.
Yes, I have another activities. I work on Saturdays and I am learning Korean by myself. So in Saturdays I make my own homeworks on
Oh,
Korean,
okay.
and now with English homework too. I am busy.
Okay, yeah, but it's for a good reason, right?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, Gabby. So today we have to start with the third unit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Eh, well, how about the tests? How about the quizzes number 1 and 2? Was it easy,
Mm,
maybe?
yes, it was very easy actually. I only have doubts in the part, not doubts, but I didn't know very well the part of the, I don't know how to say this, slangs maybe, when like get get it through or fill him out, just
Okay.
that. But I took a screenshot for that part, and um I'm, I'm
You're going to
starting to
practice.
use it.
Okay.
So, but that was the only part that make me doubt. But
Okay.
the other things, it was easy actually.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect, Gabby. So, yeah, if you're gonna use it in your daily vocabulary, it's gonna be good for you.
Mhm,
Okay. So try to use it and you're gonna see that you are gonna improve much. Okay.
mhm,
Okay. So now, other favor that I wanted to you to make me, it
mhm,
is that, for example, have you seen, right, the integrated skills when you
mhm.
had the final test?
Yes.
And you saw that you have like a score, like a
Mhm,
whole score about all the skills, right?
mhm.
When you finish that test, please, Gabby, could you take a screen about your score and could you send me by WhatsApp?
Okay. Okay.
Okay, this is because sometimes we had some, it was like a little problems where the
Mhm,
platform used to be delayed. We don't know why,
mhm.
but in order not to lose the scores, for example, okay, and you don't have to do it again, for example.
Okay. Mhm.
Okay, so that is the only thing, please, Gabby. So now let's open the unit 3. Okay, well, okay, so I will share my screen with you. Okay. Today we have to see, well, the first grammar that it is past continuous. So if we remember present continuous, it's gonna be easier, this grammar, right? So what do we have here? Past continuous. Do you remember this grammar, Gabby?
I know about present continuous. Actually, like I said, it's a little bit funny because in English I don't know that, but when I was learning Korean, because I only can learn with English,
Okay.
I learned about this, but it's a little
But
bit.
you don't know the names, for example, of the grammars, right?
Yes, I know the sentences, but I don't know the names. It's like
Yeah.
Spanish.
Yes.
When we are, I don't know, like ordinary people doesn't know that presente continuo.
Yes,
But yes,
exactly.
I know the grammars, I know how it works, but I don't know the names.
Okay, okay, don't worry. Don't worry, Gabby. So right now we will see what is the difference here. For
Mm-hmm,
example, well, as we know what is present continuous, it is the same as saying present progressive, right?
mm-hmm,
So in this grammar, what do we have? What do we have? In this case, in present continuous, we had that always, or well, when we have progressive, we have to use always the verb to be plus the verb, but the verb has to be ing in the verb, right? So this is the continuous or the progressive way because it has two names, continuous or progressive. In all the grammars, for example, present continuous, past continuous, future continuous, present perfect continuous. So we have a lot of continuous and progressives, okay?
mm-hmm,
So the most important when we talk about continuous or progressive is that we are talking about the verb in base form, but adding ing form to the verb. And of course, we have to use the verb to be, okay? Verb to be
mm-hmm,
and the verb in ing. So when we used to talk about present continuous, the only thing that we have to know is that this verb to be, has to be in present. So what is the verb to
mm-hmm,
be in present? In this case, it is am, it is, and it is are, right? This is the verb to be in present.
mm-hmm,
So when we talk about, for example, past continuous, okay, what are we talking? We are talking, of course, about the same, the verb with ing, but in this case, we have to use this verb to be, but in past, as the name says, right? So what is the past of verb to be? We have that it
was.
is, was, and were,
Mm-hmm,
right? So this is the only difference between present continuous and past continuous. So the difference is in the verb to be in present and be in past, okay? The structure is gonna be the same for both grammar. What is the structure? When we have affirmative sentences, we have the subject first, the verb to be, the verb with ing, plus the complement. So this is gonna change only in this part, be. If I want to use present continuous, my verb to be in present. If I want to use past continuous, my verb in past, my verb be in past, right? So in this case, we are using past continuous. So I can say, for example, this morning I was uh, I was reading a book this morning. Okay, so it is a time in past. I was reading a book this morning. So as we can see, we are using the structures. the subject I, verb to be. We know that in verb to be we use was with I, he, she, it, and with where we use all the plurals and you in singular, right? So my verb in base form is read, and I have to add ing, only that. So with this, I am using this example. I was reading a book this morning, okay? So if I want to make like a negative sentence, my structure, it will be the same. But what is the only thing that we have to add? It's to add not after my verb to be, okay? So for example, could you tell me maybe one example about what you didn't do in the morning or maybe yesterday, Gabby?
Okay. I wasn't singing this morning or this weekend.
Okay, okay. I wasn't singing. Okay, we could use, for example, last weekend, okay, in order to express past. I wasn't singing last weekend, okay? So we are using the verb to be with not and the verb with ing. So it means that we are using the progressive way, okay? Great, perfect. So with this grammar, can we make questions? Yes, we can make questions. So what is the only thing? That we're gonna put the verb to be at the beginning and after my subject. That is the only thing that we have to change, okay? So I can say, were you working hard maybe these days, Gabby? Were you working hard these days? So how could you answer to me?
Yes, I was working hard these days.
Great. Or only a short answer, right? Yes, I was. Or maybe, no,
No,
I
I
wasn't.
wasn't.
Yes, so only the short answers, okay? Great. So now what about this grammar? Is it now could you remember that you used before?
Yes, yes, yes. It's easy.
Yes, right? Perfect. So for example, here in the platform, we can see some examples. We can see some definitions too. That we use this past continuous to talk about something that was in the progress at a specific time, but in the past, okay? So maybe it says that we used, but we are not interested in when the activity ended, but of course the activity was in a progress way. For example, Nick was saying here, it was about 10, so here was 10. I was having something to drink at the juice bar at my health club. So during 10, maybe he started at 9 and he arrived at night to the health club and he was there until I don't know midday, so until noon. And during that time, in the middle at 10, he was drinking something, okay? But we don't know what time he started or what time he ended to drink that juice, right? Okay, so the most important for this continuous is the use of the verb to be, always with was and were in past, and the verb that we have to add always the ing form. Because if I don't put was, for example, if it's only I reading a book this morning, it doesn't have sense, right? Or maybe in the other hand, for example, I was read a book this morning. If I don't put ing, it doesn't have sense, right? So that is the most important thing. That was and were, the verb to be, with the verb with ing, always has to go together, okay? They are like married, they don't have to separate forever and ever, okay? Okay, I was working, they were working. Singular, plural, okay? So what else do we have? We could use, it says, for example, if I want to make two sentences. For example, I can make two sentences in only one. And I can use this connector that means while, okay, to talk about two actions in the same time. Okay, for example, I can say, I was cooking while I was studying. Okay, so I am doing these two actions at the same time. So while I am cooking, I am studying, or I was studying, okay? So we could use two actions, two progressive actions, using while in the middle, but saying about the same time, okay? Here, for example, we can use the same subject. Maybe we are two people, and we are doing some different actions. For example, I was cooking while you, in this case, it has to be where, while you were studying. So we are doing different actions, but in the same time, okay? The only thing that we have to know is that sometimes, for example, I want to use my connector at the beginning. For example, while. I can use this while as a connector in the middle of the sentences in order to make a separation between these two ones, okay? But I have to use, or maybe I could use this connector at the beginning of the sentence. So what do I have to do? I will join this first one, and I will separate the second one by a comma. Okay, so for example, while I was cooking, you were studying. So I have my two actions separated by a comma, but I'm using while to join these two sentences. Okay, great. So until here, do you have some question? Maybe, Gabi?
No, no, it's good.
It's good?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so in this case, let's go to the platform, okay? And let's see
Mhm.
in the exercises. Okay, so, okay. I will assign you, please. Please, third. Okay. Okay, now it's assigned. So let's go to the exercise. Maybe the first one that says past continuous one.
Okay.
Yes, that one. Great. So in this part, what do we have to do? We have to choose the correct form, right?
Mhm. Mm, also need to hear his teammates was just at the train. Tell me
Okay, so let's see. Okay, only one mistake, but where?
about.
6. I met Jackie at Grover building once. Only it says one day, right? Only one day. So it happened maybe, for example, Monday, last Monday, and it started that day and finished that day. That's because I'm saying one day, right? So this couldn't be progressive. So this is past, right? What did she say to you?
Yes, I was thinking about it
Confused.
because I don't know. Maybe I am wrong, but I thought that it the two verbs had to be in past. Like, what did she said to you?
Okay, no, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because when we have did is an auxiliary for past, right? Simple
Mm-hmm.
past. So when we use an auxiliary in
Mm-hmm.
whatever sentence, always the verb has to be in base form.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, always. But when do I use the verb in past? I use the verb in past when I only make affirmative sentences. For example, I said, or maybe I told. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not using an auxiliary. So the
Mm-hmm.
structure, for example, in affirmative sentences is I said the truth. So I'm not
Mm-hmm.
using an auxiliary, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in negative, I use an auxiliary for for past. I didn't. So my
Mm-hmm.
verb always in base form. Why? Because I'm using an auxiliary. I didn't say that, for example.
Okay.
So the same happens for questions. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Auxiliary and verb in base form.
Okay.
Great. Great. So now let's go to the second part. Yes. So in this part, what do we have to do? We have to put the same, right? Maybe the verb could be in past or maybe could be in past progressive. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Just Hmm. Hmm. Asked me about. Hmm. Why were you in class tonight? What did you do? Hmm. You can that's but they might not be very good. I was listening while the teacher talking, but my skip classes yet tomorrow, bright and early. I wish. Mm.
Okay, now let's see. What do we have?
Mm.
Okay, in this case, the question, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's loading. Yeah, but what's the
Yes.
question? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because it says, by the way, why weren't you in class tonight? So as we are talking about tonight, maybe the action is in a progressive way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so in this case, the correct form, what is it?
Mm. I'm not sure, but maybe what was no. Well, it doesn't sound good. Like what was you doing?
Yes, because was doesn't work with you. So
Mm-hmm.
what to
What
be
were you doing? Yeah.
exact. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. Great. Perfect. So now, well, what do we have now? We have the second grammar that it is modals of preference. Okay, so I will share you my screen.
Okay.
Okay, so give me a second. Mm, okay. Models of preference, okay? When we talk about preferences, we are talking about, for example, we have two options and we have to choose only one, right? But the question is, what do we prefer? The first option, the second option, or what do we prefer to do instead of doing another activity? Okay, so in this case, when we use preference, we're going to have to, we could say like auxiliaries, okay, in order to see models of preference, okay? So in this case, we have the first one, I will put here. Models of preference. The first one that we have is prefer, okay? This is not a modal verb, but this is only a verb, okay? The verb prefer, where we have, for example, it means prefiero, right? O claro, prefiero, prefieres, prefiere, okay? So this is only a verb. This is only a verb. When we talk about modals, we have these two modals, that it is would, prefer, Okay, this is a modal. This is a modal of preference. We have another modal too, that it is would rather. Would rather is another modal. And we have the different uses of these two ones, okay? So what is the first one? The first one, okay, we're gonna see here, the verb prefer as a verb. We could use this verb with maybe with infinitive or maybe with gerunds, okay? We could use with both. Okay, so what does it mean? That we could use, for example, I prefer to play soccer. Okay, I prefer to play soccer. Or maybe I could say I prefer playing soccer. Okay, so I could use with this verb, I could use these two forms. This first form, to play, it is called the infinitive. And this second one, when I don't use to, but I use ing. And this ing, it's not the meaning as ando or yendo of progressive or continuous, right? It means the same as a verb, but this is called gerund. Okay, so this verb works with these two ways, infinitive and gerund. And why do we use infinitive or why do we use gerund? Why not only play, for example? Why? Because we can't use two verbs together. Okay, so we have to separate always this verb with this another verb. And we have two ways to do it, by infinitive or by gerund. Okay? So these verbs works in these two ways. For example, here on the platform, we can see that I am having here a question. Would you like to have a seat? No, I prefer to stand. In this case, I am using infinitive. I prefer to stand, okay? So it says prefer, and would prefer can be followed by a noun. Yes, in this case, what does it mean? In this case, for example, prefer, okay, in this case, I could use with actions like to play or playing, or maybe I could use with nouns. For example, I prefer pizza, okay? Pizza is a noun, so I can use a noun or an action, okay? Noun or action. But what happens with would prefer? Would prefer, it's a phrase, it's a modal verb that we are going to use it. Okay, always, always it says with the verb, it could be in infinitive, okay? For example, I can say, I would prefer, maybe, I don't know, I could say, I would prefer to travel. Maybe I can put two options. I would prefer to travel than to stay, for example. Okay, so I am using here with actions too. Okay, I would prefer to travel than to stay. Or maybe I could use with nouns. I would prefer coffee. I would prefer coffee, no tea. Okay, no tea. So I am using noun. So this what is the structure so for this? Subject, always the modal verb, that in this case is would prefer, plus the verb. In this case, we could use infinitive or gerund. And after this, what do we have? The complement, okay? But here we could use an action that is with a verb or maybe a noun, okay? Action or noun, okay? We would prefer. So here we have some examples. Oh, well, here we don't have. Yes. In this case, we have I'd prefer coffee with a noun. Okay, so what does it mean? The contraction for this would prefer, it's gonna be always the apostrophe with the and prefer. Okay, so maybe we could have here, for example, one subject like you'd prefer. So it means that we are saying you would prefer. Okay, so this is the contraction. And we can use with this, for example, I would prefer with actions and nouns, okay? What about in this part? We don't have any other example here, but what about would rather? When we talk about with would rather, okay, the contraction for this, it's gonna be the apostrophe D with rather, okay, rather. Apostrophe D, rather. So what does it mean? That is would rather, for example, I can say, the meaning is the same, preferiría, okay? The meaning is the same. This means the same. Would prefer and would rather means the same. But the difference here is the structure, where we said here, verb with infinitive or gerund, or nouns. In this case, with would rather, we only use, well, first the subject, and after would, and after would rather, and always this would rather with verb, but the verb in base form. No verb with to, infinitive, no verb with gerund, ing, only base form. What is base form? This is base form, play, alone, right? This is infinitive and this is gerund. So in this case, always would rather with verb in base form, okay? So subject would rather, verb in base form, and complement. For example, I would rather eat burgers. Okay, I would rather eat burgers. Okay, would rather the auxiliary, verb in base form, eat. No to, no ing, base form. Okay. So for example, what happens if I want to make a negative sentence with this? The only thing that I have to do is to put not after rather. Okay. So for example, if I want to contract, I'd rather not go with him, for example. I'd rather not go with him. Okay. Preferiría no ir con él, it says, right? So this is the only difference between these ones. And would rather only works with actions, not with nouns. Okay, only actions and base form. In this case, infinitive or gerund in the actions, and nouns also. Okay. So this is the difference. Here in the platform, we can see some examples. For example, here, I'd rather, okay, would rather, the verb in base form, pay her a visit. So in this case, I'm using here an object pronoun. I'd rather pay her a visit. I'd rather not sit down. That verb in base form, okay? So for questions, it's the same. Prefer with to. Would you prefer to sit down? Prefer with infinitive. Would you rather sit down? Only base form. Okay? Is it okay?
Yes.
Perfect. So until here, do you have some question maybe, Gabby?
No, it's okay.
Okay, perfect. So now we will see it in the platform in order to see if we have some doubts, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so let's go to the platform. Okay.
Have dinner very soon. Should rather be airport. There you go to the movie. He prefers. What kind of movies does he like? Comedies? No, actually, there is movies. Let's go get some pizza. Right. I had pizza. Right. That's your sister Eva wants soccer. No, she'd rather no. She'd rather watch baseball. What about you? Do you prefer baseball? No, she'd rather watch. A ver.
Okay. Perfect. Yes, right. So maybe you were having some doubts in number 7, right?
Yes. I was remembering about the rules we prefer, but I think it doesn't make sense. So that's why I choose that option.
Yes, because for example, it could be prefer, but we are using the subject she. So maybe the correct one would be prefers.
Prefers.
Yes, right? Because of the S. Yes, great. Perfect. Perfect, Gabby. So now let's go to the second one.
Okay. I prefer to go later. Are you going to call from? I think I'd rather. Should I do tonight? One question. I remember that in one of the thing, well, in prefer and would prefer, we can use in infinitive or in gerund, right?
Yes. Yes.
But
Yes.
it's not like the platform has a an answer about this, or I can choose between that
Yes.
two options.
Yes, of course. You could write those two options. In some
Mm-hmm.
cases, but only some extremely cases, the platform doesn't recognize. But we're gonna see. Don't worry. In the first attempt,
Okay.
you could see it.
Okay. Hmm. I prefer to try on go hearing meeting later. That's okay with you. Try on go here meeting. I think I'd rather. Hmm. I'd rather go. No. Go to a restaurant. Go here, meet, pay, stay, try on, watch. Right. Go here, meet, pay. Mm, 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 pay. Okay, I think I finish.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay, that I'd rather not to work. In this case, do you remember that we have to use would rather, but without to, only verb base form, right?
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
the verb it's okay, but only work. Yeah, that was the only mistake. Yes. Great, perfect. Great. So about this grammar, maybe do you have some question or some doubt, Gabby?
No, it was clear. I think it's a matter of practice, like
Of
memorize
course.
that rules about the the use of the verbs in rather prefer, but it was clear.
Okay, great. Yes, Gabby. So while you're gonna go doing the exercises, the other tasks, you're gonna realize that you're gonna improve more because you're gonna practice, okay? Okay,
Yes.
Gabby. So we're gonna stay here today. And tomorrow we are gonna finish with the other grammar. That the other grammar is about comparative of adjectives. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, so let's finish here. Okay. So let's finish with the daily survey.
Okay.
Okay, Gabby. So see you tomorrow at 7. Okay, and take care a lot. Bye, Gabby.
Okay.
Take
Bye
care.
bye.